Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the second discussion session of the World of Seabird series. If this is the first time you started following these videos, these sessions are part of the World Seabird video project, and they're hosted by the World Seabird Union Early Career Scientists Committee. We've been asking seabird researchers to share short videos that highlight some of the great places that they work and the species that they work with, and to share some information about the research that they do. And then along with these videos, we're holding these live session discussions like today, where we can hear more from the researchers themselves and have a live question and answer session that you can all get involved with. Today, I am Alexa Piggott, and I'll be leading the session. I'm a seabird ecologist, and I've been working with seabirds for about 8 years now, mostly in the Pacific Northwest, but also here in the UK, where I currently work with BirdLife International. And joining me today is Dr. Jonas Hentati Sundberg from the Institute of Marine Research at the Swedish University of Agricultural Science. And he's going to discuss with us a little bit more about his work with the Baltic Seabird project and the Stora Karlsö Orc Lab that we saw in the video on Tuesday. He'll be answering any questions that you have, so please keep posting during this discussion, and we'll try to get your questions. So welcome, Jonas. Thanks for giving us your time today. I guess before we go into answering any questions, could you start by telling us a bit about your background as a seabird researcher and how you got started with the Baltic Seabird project?
All right. So hello everyone. I'm Jonas, and I'm here in Lysekil, in the west of Sweden. And I've been working on this island of Stora Karlsö with the common guillemots in my entire professional, or even longer, because I started working on this island age of 16 or 17 as a nature guide, and then I came in contact with some seabird scientists there, and then eventually I ended up as a field assistant, and then I started studying biology, and then I kept on going to this island, and eventually I did a PhD, actually primarily on fisheries, so it wasn't so seabirds, but now after my PhD I've sort of moved into this seabird research a little bit more again. So I guess I've been there on this island for 17 seasons now, something like that, and then keep going back.
Yeah. Great. So I guess the Stora Karlsö lab is a pretty impressive and unique way to study guillemots and seabirds themselves. So maybe you could tell us more about how the idea came about, where the design came from.
Yeah, sure. So actually, but what is special also with Stora Karlsö is that it's a very, very long research tradition. So there were the first guillemots were ringed in this colony, guillemot chicks, in 1913. So it was really in the very start of like scientific bird ringing, and then this has been going on more or less continuously for over 100 years now. And there was a big scientific work in the 1970s by a professor called Stellan Hedgren that many knows about, that work with guillemots because he did some quite important work at that time. Then it was a bit low activity, and then my colleagues started in 1997 with some kind of standard type of studies like ringing and observation to calculate adult survival and productivity and diets and that type of stuff on a number of ledges. But then it was quite clear that this colony was expanding, and there were new ledges established every year almost. And then we thought, like, yeah, maybe this could be an opportunity to build something where birds can start moving in and we can improve our ways of studying them to a higher detail and also with lower disturbance. So then we start and talk with funders. This was a process over 2-3 years, something like that. And then we eventually built it in 2008. And it's a huge construction, actually. It's 11 meters high and about 5 meters wide. So it's around 11 tons, metric tons of wood and steel. And it's like it was pre-constructed on land and then brought to the island, and then because we had 3D model of the cliff, so it fits into the cliff, designed in a way so it doesn't we didn't need to destroy anything in the natural environment, because this is also a nature reserve. This place, we couldn't do any kind of harm to the cliff or to the environment around it. And how it works, it's basically like a combined kind of a number of artificial ledges and a blind, so we can be inside and look out on the birds and study them, like with a kind of a centimeter scale, without them maybe they realized that we're there, but it works anyway. Yeah. They're not the smartest birds. I don't think it would work with kind of all types of birds, maybe, but guillemots.
Yeah, it's it's very impressive. Is I guess was it built as alternative habitat, or is it just for monitoring? Was it, or?
I mean, it's more for kind of monitoring and research purposes. Because yeah.
And how long did it take for the? Sorry, how long did it take once it was built?
So we had one per first season.
So, oh, really? Wow.
And then but it has kind of very slowly expanded. So we had between, I think, 3 and 11 new pairs every year since then. So it's building up slowly, and it's almost like in each ledge, and then it's like another one, and then it's another one. So we're quite curious. We haven't checked yet, but it appears that, I mean, maybe those are like related or like family groups and stuff, at least to some extent. And we also, I mean, we can quite easily ring the chicks. So we ring all the chicks that are born on this ledge, and several of them have already came back, and that's 16,000 pairs on this small island. So the likelihood of one coming back to this small spot is like, I mean, I don't think it's a random probability.
You think
it's rather that, like, from, I mean, the chicks from the ledge are coming back as breeders to the ledge. So, but we haven't done any genetics, and so we don't have. I think in the future we could start building maybe even like family trees and stuff from the birds there.
Yeah. So you don't think there's immigration from other islands nearby that there's possible immigration?
No, I think, I mean, it's the Stora Karlsö is like the dominating by size colony in the whole Baltic Sea. So there's like about 2/3 of all guillemots in the Baltic Sea breed at Stora Karlsö. So of course there could be a little immigration from other small colonies, but I rather think that Stora Karlsö is like a source colony to other small colonies. And it's and we have very rarely observed, if ever, any kind of ring birds from other colonies recruiting to Stora Karlsö. But we do observe a lot of the colonies birds we ring in coming years.
So it's called the Auckland. Are there other species that are nesting on the structure other than guillemots?
So we called it a merlab originally,
Very long.
and then we had razorbills starting breeding there, so that's why we changed to Oak Lab. So and we're, I mean that's almost our main priority now, to try to get more razorbills, because they have turned out to be much more difficult to study in the field. So they're much more shy and so on. So now this spring, actually, or the spring 2019, we started building like integrated nest boxes, because they like this a bit more kind of protected places. So we have 5 pairs currently. It's a bit small to do like proper science on it, but we're trying to be super nice. We can get get more razorbills in.
Right.
Then we had one stock dove as well in one of the nest boxes. So it's actually 3 species.
A 3 species colony.
And, and we've been talking about building small. We've talked about building small swift. Common swift nest boxes as well on the top, but not yet.
So do the birds, they can kind of hear you inside, they don't have much disturbance from you? Can you open the windows? Do you do that for the ringing, or are you monitoring?
We do that, yeah. We do, I mean, we do that for the ringing. Of course, that disturbs them, because it's like opening the whole wall. So we're trying to be as seldom as possible. We can catch the adult birds as well from inside, but we've been relatively, in order to make them feel kind of secure. But it is working, and but most of the daily observations we do from inside, from small openings, and then as long as we don't like scream or anything, you can even talk in there, in kind of, and they make so much noise themselves, so it's not a big difference. And it appears also that they're not, they're much more sensitive if you do things from above, like where they are used to have threats, like with but if you come from like inside slowly, it's not something they're programmed for being afraid, or as it appears, at least. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And the monitoring that you have with the cameras, is that just one camera you have set up, or do you have a lot of live cameras that are watching the birds for a purpose?
No, we have a number of cameras. So, but that's also something we installed in 2019, actually. So that's new. But it's a classic surveillance system that you would have in kind of shops or malls or anything. It's like and we have these big screens with all the cameras. I can go in and zoom and stuff from our office. So and then all the data is stored locally. But then we had one camera that we also live streamed this year, where also anyone from the general public could go in and submit observations when they saw stuff on the video. So you could say, I saw and they could tick, like, I saw a chick, or I saw an egg, or I saw a feeding and stuff. And that arrived in a database, and then we could check the database and see, here has been a lot of fights going on. I wonder what happened then, and so on.
Right,
so trying to build up that as some kind of citizen science thing, but it's still an early phase. But yeah. We don't have it's an island, so we don't have we have a limited capacity in how much we can stream also.
Right.
Because we have to do it over 4G.
Yeah. So what kind of unique data are you able to collect with, I guess, in this Oak Lab?
We could, what we've done so far is like, we check all the pairs every day and see if they have eggs or chicks, like the classical productivity type of monitoring. And then we are ringing. One unique feature also of this colony is that it's easy to ring a lot of chicks on the beach. So we've been ringing for the last 15 years. We've been ringing between 2,000 and 5,000 chicks every year, and which is about maybe a third of the total production in the colony, something like that. And those are coming back and recruiting in later years. So we're reading a lot of rings in order to do estimate survival for juvenile pre-breeding survival and also adult survival. And then we're interested in the diet. So we do a lot of observations on the feeding, chick feedings, but we can also collect fish. They drop a lot, some of the fish on the ledges, so we can collect them from inside to look at more details on the fish and look at the fish age with the otoliths and stuff like that. So those are kind of the main basic studies we do. Now when we have the cameras, that opens up more possibilities of doing like detailed behavioral studies and stuff like that. And we're working on this a little bit now with trying to use some artificial intelligence and that type of stuff on the videos, trying to analyze it, and we'll talk about that a little bit actually in the conference in October. But that's it's very exciting, but it's not easy. So, yeah.
Are there many students involved with the Baltic Seabird project who are carrying out their research there as well, undergraduate or masters?
Yeah, there are a few every year. It's not a huge amount, but we're usually a crew of between 4 and 6 in the field between May and July, and a mix of like field assistants and some students and 1 or 2 PhD students, and a small group of people. And then there are some people visiting also. It's quite accessible, this island, so there are daily boat tours with tourists, so it's possible to just visit for a few days with like, it's not so much logistics involved, so to say. So which is nice, and it's often good weather and nice place to go.
All visit.
It's like I'm advertising. Yeah. It's a nice place. I can recommend a visit. Yeah.
So I guess how are the MERS or the guillemot population doing overall? You said it's been expanding year after year, so they're a successful colony. And I guess they're kind of bucking the trend.
And they actually still going up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did analysis. We did an analysis a few years ago when we collected historical photographs to see the extent of the colony, and it turned out that the numbers we have now are probably kind of record high. I mean, they're definitely record high for the last 100 years, but probably even for a longer period. So this population was almost extinct in late 1800s. And the main reason to that was hunting and egg collection in the colony. But then there's been other threats over the 20th century, such as oiling and bycatches, gillnet bycatches, and some hunting as well. And but now it seems like everything. I mean, there's less gillnet fisheries. There's less oil spills. And there is less environmental toxins also, which has also been a big problem with the DDT and PCB in the Baltic Sea. So now everything is just going up. And it's almost like we've been waiting for it has to change. I mean, it can't just go on for this. but it's for every year, as long as I've been there, it's just going up, and the breeding success is constantly quite high, and all the indicators are like. So I mean, there must be some kind of end to it, and I mean, in the end, they will start kind of consuming the fish near the colony themselves. There could be
Right.
some kind of threshold there, but we're not there yet, it seems.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
So,
So
and
prey
and
resources must be quite good in the area.
exactly, that's a good question. So I guess that's the other reason to why it's going up. That the Baltic Sea is, I mean, it is very productive. It's a very productive ecosystem, and it has become even more productive because we have this eutrophication. It's a huge nutrient runoff from the surrounding countries that have like actually raised the production in this sea over in the long term perspective. And then we used to have a fish top predator, which is Atlantic cod, that kind of controlled to some extent the prey forage fish resources, which are sprat and herring. But now cod is almost extinct in the Baltic Sea now because of overfishing and other things. So there's also massive amounts of forage fish, small pelagic species like herring, Atlantic herring, and European sprat. So in a sense, the increase of the guillemots also indicates maybe some kind of unbalance in the system. The fact that there are a few other top predators competing now. I mean, it's not only, but it's part of the story as well, definitely.
Right. Have you seen any change in the diet? So there's not just the fact that it's an abundant prey, but is it more diverse at all? Or have you seen any changes as the colony's been increasing?
Not so much so far. I mean, it's a very species poor system also, the Baltic Sea. So there is not so much to choose from, I guess. So sprat has been the dominating prey. We don't have a lot of sand eel, for example, and we don't have any sardines, and we don't have any what are they called, the malupus. I mean, we don't have a lot of other species. So I guess as long as they are abundant, they will keep on taking those ones. And that is, I mean, everything we do on diets is based on the chicks' diets, right? Because that's what we see comes in the bill when they're feeding.
Right.
So it could be that the adults are feeding on some other. There's a lot of sticklebacks in the Baltic Sea also, 3-spine stickleback, which is a very small species, around 5-6 centimeters. Maybe the adults are eating more of that one, and then feeding the chicks with like some larger fish. It could be, but we're not sure.
Right. Yeah. So are there any other research projects within the Baltic Seabird project that are kind of a focus other than the York Lab? Or?
Yes, so we do have a number of natural ledges also for guillemots that we monitor in the same way to have also a type of control. I guess we're kind of moving over more and more to the York Lab, but we keep some natural places as some references. Then we have done a bit of work on herring gulls and lesser blackback gulls as well, and it's mainly in collaboration with Lund University in southern Sweden. So there's been one PhD project about tracking, mainly GPS tracking of lesser blackback gull, and combining a bit also data sets from gulls and murs that forage on the same. The gulls also forage on sprat actually to a large extent, and try to understand a little bit the kind of different trade-offs they face in like the foraging behavior and how long they fly from the colony and stuff like that. So there is a little bit of work on that as well. The gulls are not as abundant as the auks, and they have actually declined over time. That's a little bit one of the reasons, I guess, why we focus so much on the guillemots is that they're very easy to study and everything works well and it's simple and so on. And with the gulls, it's always this issue of disturbance, and they're declining, and they're also, it's the fuscus subspecies of lesser black-backed gull, which is a red-listed population and so on. So it's very relevant for conservation, but it's also a bit sensitive to work on them if your presence in the colony leads to further disturbance and so on. So yeah. But then the big thing every year is the ringing, and the fun thing with the ringing also is that we use tourists on the island as assistants to go down on the beach, and they help us catching the chicks, and it's a big event. And particularly for 5-10 years ago, there was like almost a mania in Sweden among nature lovers. I have to go to Stora Karlsö and help the researchers. And there were like waiting lists, and they were like queuing outside their office to, and so there was like too much interest because but now it's more in balance now the last few years. But many people come back, and then they come back in 10 years. Yeah, it was that night I was with you, and we got this. It was this record night, blah blah blah. And they're like, yeah, I don't remember, but I'm sure. It's like, yeah.
Right. So, is there opportunities for, I guess, an early career scientist who would be interested in maybe their first time job with seabirds or ringing?
Absolutely, and we almost every year we have someone coming, volunteering a few weeks, and helping out in the colony and helping out with ringing and so on. Right. So it's just we're very very open to that, and we have a lot of help from people coming from outside and getting some experience also. So if anyone hears this and is interesting, please get in contact. If you want to go to Sweden in summer, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a great place to work, and actually a really unique setting, because you don't often get that close to a guillemot colony. So yeah. It would be.
And I guess no one of us are really kind of behavioral ecologists, for example. But I think there are a lot of opportunities of doing like very detailed behavioral stuff with these and kind of ask questions that we haven't thought about, because we're more kind of, our team mainly are like more like ecosystem ecologists. We're interested in like seabirds and fish and fisheries and production and so on, which is, but there's so many other angles you can have as well. So one thing we have been discussing with some other researchers is that like with the egg patterns and how they learn to know, because guillemots has this unique thing of having very nicely patterned eggs, and all the patterns are unique for every egg and so on. And females generally lay eggs with the same, they look almost the same every year, at least most females. But for males, especially if they swap partners, they have to get to learn how the egg looks like, and how do they kind of study their egg, and how that's something we've been discussing a little bit. That would be cool to
I guess
do some more detailed studies on.
Blind, you can look at a lot more detailed life history patterns and how they're grouping together on a colony. As like you said, possibly related individuals. So that'll be interesting to see as the years go on, as the lab cut starts filling out. That's
for sure. We have some pairs now that started breeding together so the first season was 2009, and we had at least one pair recruiting in 2010. And they've done like 10 seasons now together, and like raise a chick perfectly every year. And so there are these. I guess that's something you always find out when you work for a long time in ecology about this kind of great heterogeneity that you have. Like you have these guys that are always doing fine and they're together and you know exactly when they're coming. Then you have these kind of individuals that never seem to kind of get it working. And so and that's a lot of fun when you have, and many of these we know since they were born also. So you know, you can control for age and stuff like that.
Great. Yeah. Wow. It's a really interesting and unique project. It's really interesting to hear about. So I guess we're coming to the end of our session now. Thank you, Jonas, for talking to us today and then submitting your video. It was really great to watch. Nice. Thanks everyone for watching today at this session. There are going to be more videos to come in the World of Seabird series, which we'll be posting next month. So I guess keep following this channel. Thank you.
Thank you.